I'm Matt Legit, and I'm here at 8725 North Chautauqua Boulevard at the historic Portland Sports Arena. The building that gave birth to men like Roddy Piper, Buddy Rose, Jesse Ventura, Jimmy Snuka, Curt Hennig, Art Barr, Raven, and countless other legends of professional wrestling. But it's not those great men I'm here to talk about today. I'm here to talk about the lost champions of Portland wrestling. Even though many champions won the Portland wrestling title in this very building, this isn't where the first NWA Pacific Northwest heavyweight title was captured. It was in Salem, Oregon, at the Ferry Street Garden Armory, better known to residents of Salem as the Castle, that the first Pacific Northwest heavyweight champion in history was crowned, and those first titles changed hands. When Luther Lindsay won the NWA Pacific Northwest heavyweight title in May of 1955, he held on to it for less than a month before losing it to Ivan Kameroff. Ivan Kameroff won the Northwest heavyweight title on June 21st, 1955, 60 years ago. Ivan was born in 1918 and was known as the Caribou and the Russian Strongman, and was even Mr. New York in 1940 because of his success as a bodybuilder and weightlifter. Ivan also collected the Portland Wrestling Tag Team titles twice, with Doug Donovan, once with Soldat Gorky, and once with Boris Kameroff, who may have been Ivan's real-life brother, Walter. Most people don't know this, but when Jimmy Snuka arrived in Portland wrestling in 1971 as a rookie, his first few matches were against Ivan Kameroff. Ivan held the NWA Pacific Northwest heavyweight title for almost 4 months, before losing it on October 4th, 1955, to John Paul Hennig. John Paul Hennig, no relation to Curt and Larry Hennig, was a former Navy frogman, born in St. Petersburg, Florida. His matinee idol good looks made him a natural babyface, and he became well known throughout the Pacific Coast and Canada. John Paul Hennig was a popular attraction in Toronto's Maple Leaf Wrestling, and in the 1960s became a big draw in St. Louis before he retired to become an evangelist. John Paul Hennig passed away at 73 years of age back in 2001. You know, records are still not clear, but sometime in February of 1956, possibly in Eugene, Oregon, John Paul Hennig lost the title to Lenny the Bull Montana. Lenny Montana was born in Brooklyn, New York in 1926 and began his wrestling career in New Jersey in 1953. He was a big guy at 6'6" and wrestled under the Zebra Kid gimmick, capturing the New Jersey Tag Team titles on April 4th, 1953 with the Golden Terror. Bull Montana's biggest in-ring success would be in capturing the AWA World Tag Team titles with Hardboiled Haggerty. But that would not be his biggest success in life. We'll talk more about Lenny the Bull Montana in the next installment of this series on Portland Wrestling. Just as we're not sure when Bull Montana won the NWA Pacific Northwest heavyweight title, we're also not sure when he lost the belt. It could have been June 2nd or it could have been June 9th, but it was to Herb Freeman, a very popular wrestler of that era, that Lenny dropped the strap. This would be the first of 5 Pacific Northwest heavyweight titles Herb Freeman would capture, but he was best known as a tag team specialist, winning the belts 11 times, possibly as many as 13 times, with everyone from Pepper Gomez to Nick Kozak to Ed Francis to Luther Lindsay. He even won the tag titles with Seymour Freeman, who was not his blood brother, but his wrestling brother. Herb retired to Salem, Oregon, where he became a chiropractic doctor, as respected in the medical field as he was in the wrestling ring. Herb Freeman's first Pacific Northwest title reign would come to an end 2 months after he won the belt, on August 15th, 1956, when he lost a match in Salem, Oregon, to Bud Curtis. Bud Curtis was born August 6th, 1917 in Indianapolis, Indiana, and played football at Arizona State University. He was the United States 1945 weightlifting champion and an international professional wrestler. Bud Curtis was one man in a long line of wrestlers to work under a hood as the Masked Marvel, and was the first wrestler to perform as the Bat here in the Pacific Northwest. He retired from the ring at the age of 50 to go to work for the DMV. One of the real tragedies of wrestling on the Pacific Coast is how much of the history has been lost. There isn't even a single picture of Bud Curtis available online to share with all you fans. Perhaps one day, an image of this multi-sport champion will emerge, and another piece of history will be restored. Bud Curtis would lose the Pacific Northwest heavyweight title to Ed Francis on October 9th, 1956. Gentleman Ed Francis grew up on the north side of Chicago, Illinois during the Great Depression. After his time as a merchant marine in World War II ended, he gave up amateur wrestling to become a pro, traveling as far as Japan, Australia, and even the United Kingdom. Ed Francis would retire from in-ring competition to become the promoter of Hawaii's 50th state big-time wrestling promotion. Ed Francis held the NWA Pacific Northwest heavyweight title at least 5 times. He was also an NWA World Junior Heavyweight Champion and an NWA Canadian Heavyweight Champion for Stampede Wrestling and Stu Hart. It also appears that on May 15, 1957, Ed Francis won the Pacific Coast Junior Heavyweight Championship in Astoria, Oregon. After this title change, that championship disappeared to time. It would be on October 9th, 1956, that Ed Francis captured the NWA Pacific Northwest heavyweight title for the first time. And it wasn't until 6 months ago that we discovered Ed Francis wasn't the first NWA Pacific Northwest champion. And it wasn't that 1956 date that we previously knew. There have been multiple dates assigned over the years to when Ed Francis first captured the NWA Pacific Northwest heavyweight title. And then you have to ask yourself, what about Dick Torio? Why isn't he in the record books yet? Because his family has provided us with a picture of him with what is referred to in his own writing as the Northwest title. At some point in the past, Dick Torio won the Northwest Championship. Or maybe it was the Pacific Coast Junior Heavyweight title, which is a title we'll talk about in a future installment of this Portland Wrestling series. It's certainly possible that sometime between October of 1956 and May of 1957, Ed Francis lost the belt to Dick Torio, and then Torio dropped it back to Francis later on. We just don't know. There's still so much history out there waiting to be discovered, and we're going to talk about some of that history in future installments of this series on Portland Wrestling. We'll discuss Frank Stojak and the Pacific Coast Junior Heavyweight Championship. We'll talk about Gorgeous George and the Light Heavyweight Championship and the Middleweight title. We'll discuss all those great championships and amazing wrestlers from the past in the near future. But the next time you see me, we'll talk about Portland Wrestling's impact on Hollywood. I'm Matt Legit. I'll see you soon.
We are rolling.
Don't laugh at me, Crow.